Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. First, I want to congratulate a friend of mine, Mqondisi. He's just released a magnificent book called The Magna Carta of Leadership. And as you know, he's a great partner of mine in the scandal of independent thought and building a coalition of people who want to effect a meaningful change in this country that we love so much. So, one of the things that I wanted to do for this random musing was to talk to a lot of the people who were starting a conversation around key influences, the people we read, the things that we suggest, and analytical techniques. In fact, I think one of the questions I received was how one can think like a genius. I've been thinking a little about that question, and there are a lot of answers that come to mind, but I don't know that very well, so I'm going to turn to one of my key influences that can help us with that. One of these key influences in this thinking ability is a person by the name of Jim Collins. He's a business author. I highly recommend his books, and I want to pull out something from one of his called Good to Great. In that book, he speaks to the highest ranking American soldier that gets captured during the Vietnam War. Over the course of the Saturday afternoon, they have a conversation, and eventually he asks him how he endured more than 6 years of torture in a prisoner of war camp and come out so well on the other side. Stockdale's answer is revealing. He says, you have to confront the absolutely brutal facts of your reality, and yet never lose faith that you will prevail in the end. This seemingly contradictory answer is something that Jim Collins went on to dub as the Stockdale paradox. To my mind, this was building on a principle which they had established earlier. Jim Collins partnered Jerry I. Porras in the book Built to Last, and in it they introduce an incredible concept. And this concept is called the genius of the and versus the tyranny of the or. One of the things that we see is that there is a seeming difficulty for people to hold what they perceive to be two contradictory ideas in mind at the same time. And if you look at it in the practice of modern business, there are a number of people who ask that question well enough and it leads them to a fundamentally different way of thought. So for example, Henry Ford, here's a guy who was building the first large-scale business that produced motor vehicles. And he asked the question, how is it that I can more than double the daily wages I pay my staff and still make a greater profit? Interestingly, Elon Musk, though he's asked many wonderful questions, he also asked the question, how is it that we can have electrical cars and make them affordable? How can we have electric cars and make them desirable? This ability to hold two seemingly contradictory thoughts in mind gives rise to the ability to reason in a fundamentally different way. So, if you look at all these people who ask these questions, it's interesting to note that Elon Musk comes from Pretoria, like many of you watching this video today. He has access to substantially the same things that we have access to. All the people that I've mentioned, all that was missing from them embracing the genius of the and versus the tyranny of the or was just to make the decision. A decision that was always available to them. So, Vusi and I often talk about how it is that we can get people to invest more in the economy rather than hang on to their cash. A key problem that people perceive is how it is that they can invest with confidence in an economy that seems to be increasingly corrupt. So those of us who work in the digital world, we're looking at the question, how can people deploy more capital and do so with a return and the confidence that it'll be well spent? We're building on the work of people that have done stuff in blockchain, and we think that there may be an answer in a distributed public ledger that can show everybody public payments and where the money is going. Whatever the answer is, it leads us to fundamentally different answers when we reason with these two contradictions in mind. So my encouragement to you this evening is when you reason, think about the genius of the and the advancement that it brings rather than enslaving yourself into the tyranny of the or.